Welcome everybody to our second lesson of our square roots and surface area unit. Today we're going to be talking about square roots, and we're going to start off with this radical sign that you might have seen before that looks like a division sign. The best way to think about this operation is that it does the opposite of what squaring does. So just like minus and plus are opposite operations, or multiplication and division are opposite operations, squaring a number, that is, let's say we take 3 and we square it, that means multiply by itself, we get 9. Well, the same way, to do the opposite of squaring, we would do what's called a square root. So the square root of 9, in this case, would be 3. So here's a bit of a formal definition. So if we were to take square root of 49, it means to find the square root of 49. In other words, find a number that can be squared to produce 49. And squaring again means to multiply a number by itself. So the square root of 49 in this case is 7. Okay, let's look at some other examples. The square root of 36. Again, what number multiplied by itself gives us 36? The answer in this case is going to be 6. And we can check that by going 6 squared, and that's 6 times 6 to get 36. Okay, the square root of 169. This one might not be so obvious. This one is going to be 13, because 13 times 13 is 169. It might be a good idea to memorize the squares, the perfect squares up to 15, so that you save yourself some time when you're doing questions at home or questions on the test. Okay, now we're going to look at a slightly different one over down here, the square root of x squared. Well, again, the way we think about it, what can I square to get x squared? Well, the answer in this case is x. And if you're not sure, you can always check. Let me check this. When I multiply x times x, I get x squared. Therefore, the square root of x squared is just going to be x. Okay, if this last one was a little bit confusing, again, always think about what it doesn't have to be a number. We can have a variable as well. What times itself gives us, and again, this thing inside, under the radical sign, that's the thing we're looking for. Alright, now let's try this next one. We have x to the 6. So first, this one seems a little harder. But again, and let's start with, I can make a little bracket here, and I can leave it as blank, and then we can work backwards to find this one. So we're trying to get to x to the power of 6. So what can I multiply by itself, or in other words, square it, to get x to the 6? And in this case, it's going to be x to the power of 3. Because x to the power of 3 times itself gives us x to the 6. So the answer is going to be x to the power of 3. Okay, let's try some of these. Now, these fraction ones, again, look a little challenging, but we're going to treat the numerator and the denominator as, we can treat them separately. So we can take the square root of 16 and then take the square root of 9 to get our answer. So what's the square root of 16? Well, that's going to be 4, because 4 squared is 16. What's the square root of 9? We did that one above. That gives us 3. So there's the answer to that one. Okay, let's look at this decimal one down here. What's the square root of 0.25? Well, there's a couple ways of doing it. If you're not sure, if you're not comfortable with your decimals yet from your grade 7 class, you might want to convert this to a fraction first. So let's do that. Let's do that method first. So we have the square root, and then 25 over 100. That would be the equivalent fraction. And now I can go, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of 100 is 10. And that simplifies to 1 over 2. Now, if I wanted to convert that back to a decimal, that would be 0.5. And again, I can check that by squaring 0.5, and I would get 0.25 if you worked out that multiplication. And that is indeed what was in the square root sign there, under the square root sign. All right, last couple here. We got some interesting ones that might come up. The square root of 1. Again, think about this one. What two numbers, or not what two numbers, what number multiplied by itself can give us 1? Well, the answer is 1, because 1 times 1, or 1 squared, equals 1. The square root of 0, this one you probably thought of if the answer is 0. If you thought about that, you got that one correct. The square root of 0, what number multiplies by itself gives us 0. The answer is 0. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you next time.